let's go for a ride.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have never ridden in a DeLorean in my life. I've never really touched one, but now I've been able to get my fingerprints all over the stainless steel. And I knew that I would have that opportunity if I came to Milton. And also, I knew that Justin was very passionate about these cars, and I wanted to find out more about where that passion comes from. Justin.
Hey, Brent.
Hey, it looks beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, lots of hard work. How many DeLoreans in the shop today?
Got about 12 in here today.
Is any of them for sale?
Yeah, we've got 3 or 4 for sale.
What's the price tag?
Started about 55 Canadian.
So they're on sale?
Absolutely.
Let's take a look.
Okay.
So the cars that come here for work, how far are they coming from?
All across Canada. I mean, this one here is about 2,600 kilometers.
Wow, and what's being done to it?
It was involved in a minor collision, so we're doing some stainless repair as well as having some of the mechanical side of it having to be addressed, the cooling system and so on.
Stainless steel bodies must need a lot of care.
Yeah, it's a completely different process on how you end up repairing it than a conventional steel car.
This is your specialized work?
Yeah, yeah.
How much of the work do you do yourself?
Oh, most of it. Yeah. There's so much that we could outsource when it comes to this, and it's not a heck of a lot.
And how much of it is done by hand?
Oh, most of it as well. We have a machine I'll show you later that we use to put the grain back into it, but the rest is filing and hammering and stuff like that.
So you're like a jeweler for these cars?
Of sorts, I guess. I mean, in the sense that the work is fairly specialized. It takes time to get used to it and how the metal works. So it's a bit of an art.
It's unreal to be surrounded by all of these rare cars, and each one of them, they look kind of the same, but each one of them is distinct and each one of them is remarkable, and you know that each one of them is the product of a lot of love and care. Justin, these look like frames. Are they original DeLoreans?
Yes, this is the original steel chassis of the vehicles.
And how often do you do frame repairs?
Fairly often. Unfortunately, it is an epoxy-coated steel, and when that epoxy cracks, especially in Canadian winters, if it had been exposed to salt once, that's all it took to start the rusting process from the inside out.
Usually frame damage is something that I associate with an old car. Do you consider these cars old?
Absolutely. I mean, they're approaching 40 years old, and in the automotive world, that's quite old.
Were they built to last this long?
Yeah, John DeLorean engineered the car to last minimum 25 years. That was an ethical sports car in his mind, so we've passed that.
This is great, but I've never been in a DeLorean or gone for a ride in one.
Oh, we can make that happen.
That'd be great.
Awesome, let's go.
Let's do it. So this is your car?
It is.
It looks like a chisel.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, eh?
It is beautiful. So these gull-wing doors, are they actually practical?
Yeah, they take about 13 inches of clearance to open.
So let's go for a ride.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is low to the ground.
It is.
Why is it so low?
Well, this one's been lowered to European spec per se, what the car was originally designed to.
This car is low to the ground, and Justin's car is even lower. So my first thought was, if I smoked cigarettes, I could put the cigarettes out on the ground without moving in my seat.
Of course, the car did launch during the fuel crisis, so it was important to have a car that passed emissions, that got reasonably good gas mileage for a sports car too. So this vehicle does that, but it did come at the cost of some of the horsepower it was originally planned for it.
So Justin, what is it about this car that has a hold on you?
It's a stainless steel gull-wing car. It's incredibly cool as far as its appearance goes, but also with the history behind it. I mean, the John DeLorean story, everything that you could need to do that same story today couldn't happen. It was a story of the period, really.
I grew up in New Brunswick, and when I was a little kid in New Brunswick, we had the Bricklin, which turned out to be one of the worst cars ever made, but it had gull-wing doors. So there's a similarity between the Bricklin and the DeLorean. But having seen the DeLorean, I can see how the DeLorean far, far outclasses the Bricklin in almost every single way. When did you first get involved with the car? What was your first contact?
Well, the first time I saw one in the flesh was when I was 9 years old, and that was when I saw one at a used car dealership on, I believe it was Queen and Dovercourt. And from that moment onwards, when I realized it was a real car and not a movie prop, that made a big difference as to what I wanted to do.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Do you think this is how they get the shots in Back to the Future?
You know what? We saw some of the way that was shot, and they had some test mules, or rather movie mules, where they took out the windshield to get some of those shots of cut up DeLoreans, because there was, I believe, 7 DeLoreans used in the trilogy. So it depends on which shot they were taking. They had one with the whole shebang behind you, but there was nothing in front.
I wasn't a kid when Back to the Future came out. I was already grown up. But I remember thinking that they used the DeLorean. I knew what the DeLorean was. And I remember thinking they used the DeLorean because it looks cool. And it looks like it's connected to another time. And that's how it looks today. Does the car have the same appeal to kids that it did when you were 9 years old?
You know what? I would say so, in the sense that I guess some of them still see it in the movie when it's on Netflix now and so on. But others who don't even know the movie just know that it looks like a giant transformer of sorts. I mean, you see this metal thing with doors open, and it doesn't look like a regular car. Kids of all ages sort of look at it and be like, "What is that? That is not a car." Or at least a car that I'm used to. So it does transcend generations a little bit in that context.
Justin, that was great. I'm in love with this car.
It's a lovable car.
Thank you for showing it to me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming.
John DeLorean, wherever you are, you got it right.